I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I move we approve the agenda as presented with the following amendments. Number one, additional certified and classified personnel actions for consideration, item number F-3.
Second,
A second.
been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. And then we will move on to budget hearing for the district, the 22-23 district budget. And I will start by declaring that the hearing for the revenue neutral rate is open for discussion. Are there any patrons who wish to address the board on this issue? Okay. Are there any board members who wish to speak? And I will entertain a motion to close the revenue neutral tax rate hearing.
Madam President, I move that the revenue neutral tax rate hearing be closed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passed. Next, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution to exceed the revenue neutral tax rate.
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education adopt the resolution to exceed the revenue neutral tax rate.
For a second. Any discussion? It's been moved in second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the LOB percentage.
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution to adopt the LOB percentage.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed. Okay, we're gonna move on to the budget hearing. I declare the hearing for the 22-23 budget is open for discussion. Are there any patrons who wish to address the board on the budget? Are there any board members that wish to speak? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to close the budget hearing.
Madam President, I move that the budget hearing for the 2022-23 budget be closed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then before approving the budget, I'd like to take a moment to recognize, I'm reading so I don't mess up, to recognize that we did receive both the building needs assessment and the state assessments, and they have been reviewed by the board members and have been used in our consideration of the budget approval process. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the 2022-23 district budget as presented.
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education adopt the 2022-23 district budget as presented.
For a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed. And we have approved the budget. So thank you for all the work that went into that, for our beautiful binders. No problem. Thank you. We will move on to public comments. Start with Tammy Hutchison. You'll have 5 minutes.
Such an odd little thing here. Well, I have this great little report for you. But as I was walking up here, like I did the last time I talked to the board, I did a lot of great research and I'm not going to read it. I'll send it to you because it has lots of good research in it. Let's talk about equity, not equality, but equity. I think there's some serious concerns at the equitability at KH versus the other middle school. I just want you guys to think about those things when it comes to the future mental, physical health, and our students becoming contributing members of society. I reviewed the vision and the mission and the talking points on the district website. And really what it comes down to is you want to produce citizens, students that aren't turds, right? I mean, we just don't want them to be turds. So I always feel like KH is a bed not made. Have you guys ever heard that admiral that talks about how it's important for the first thing to get up and make your bed because you've done at least one thing? KH is just a messy bed. We've never made our bed, so we can never move on to the next thing. And I think our facilities has a lot to do with that. I think they are inadequate compared to the other facilities. And how I understand is the next speaker is going to get up and talk about classes that aren't offered, which is probably far more important than a football field, by the way. But sports are important. So my career, I spent a lot of time researching out of school activities as a psychologist and whether or not they lead to good leadership skills. And definitely through a thesis and a dissertation, I know that out of school activities lead to better leadership knowledge and activities, the behavior of that. Yet we can't get people at KH to be a part of out of school activities, which they're entitled to, I feel like, because our bed is not made. We just can't get over that hump. So the field is in complete chaos. We have a culture change. Our coach is sitting over here. We have a complete culture change at KH with football. Like, we won a game. Like, if you guys didn't know, we won a football game. And that is a pretty cool deal because my daughter, yes, my daughter has been playing football a long time and never won a game. We won a game with that culture change, but there are so many roadblocks for this coach. I struggle with that. You look good, you feel good, you do good. And something happened somewhere. There's this mass pointing here and pointing there on why that facility has been neglected. I just challenge everybody, take a field trip. I've challenged people to ride the bus system here before. I challenge you to take a field trip. Take a field trip, look at KH's field, look at Horace Good's field, look at Abe Hubert's field, and tell me if they are equitable. If they're not equitable, it's our job as the Board of Education, as the administration, and as the stakeholders to do something about it. And I think that's where we sit at this point. We have to do something about it. The last kick in the gut that I want to talk about is the bus. So our kids finally won a football game. And then they were put on a bus that had leaked oil. And it's okay. They'll make it back. If not, we'll figure it out then. That's not okay. We peed oil all over Liberal School in a bus that had no air conditioning. Yes, I rode on a bus too with no air conditioning. But we have policies about if it gets too hot, this is what we had to do. But we put kids on a bus for an hour and 10 minutes before a football game that was 100 degrees out. The bus leaked oil, and then they put them back on that bus in that dangerous situation. Would all schools have to do that? Would they do that for the high school? Would they send another bus? Or is it just KH because they're, the poor school? I don't know. It just blows my mind that was even a decision made to put those kids back on a bus that had overheated to a game. Overheated, put those kids. So we waited in Liberal because I had a van. Is it more dangerous for them all to ride home in a van with no seatbelts or to be on a bus that's shaking down the road? I don't know. I just don't know. There's so many things, there's so many finger pointing. It just needs to be taken care of. We need to find experts and we need to figure it out. One of the things I asked today was, is that field safe to play on? I couldn't get an answer. It's open to the public. They're practicing on it. Not anymore. The field was locked today after I asked that question. So is the field safe to play on? And if so, those kids need to be playing on that field after we take care of business. Mhm.
Alicia Schaefer.
So I have a son who's in 8th grade up the street at KH. We have a friend whose daughter goes over to Horace Good. And we have found out that they are offering classes, a particular class over there, that they're not offering at KH. I responded to a post 3 weeks ago on the on the district website for Facebook, noticing that they are offering certain music classes at Bernadine Sitz that they're not offering at Charles Stone's. I have a 4th grader this year who may or may not get to have that chance to be an orchestra or band next year. I have an 8th grader who got that chance to have orchestra both years at Charles Stone's. He has done great. He's had the same teacher. I want that same for not just my kid as a 5th grader next year, but I want it for all kids at all schools. And I feel music is important for a lot of these kids because that may be their one and only ticket out of this town if they don't play sports. And, you know, their parents may have worked hard to get them to where they can be, to get out of here with a music scholarship. I find it heartbreaking as a former student of this school district that I fought so hard to stick with my orchestra program when we had no teacher, to now we don't offer it at all schools to give all kids the opportunity. I feel music is the only subject or class that you use both sides of your brain at the same time. And that allows for creativity, just like your drawing art classes or your other classes where you get to be free and do as you choose to expand your horizons. So I just find it really heartbreaking that we're showing kids that certain schools are better than others because we're going to offer classes here but not offer them there. I don't feel that's right, that we're showing kids one's better than the other. I hope something can come out of this because I want the same for everybody, to be able to have a chance at music at 5th grade level instead of waiting until 6th grade. I don't want to have to pay out of pocket for lessons when I can try to teach my son myself, because I went through orchestra here. Great program, great teachers. My teacher I had 20 years ago is still teaching here in this district. Great teachers. I think they should have the opportunity to teach up and coming kids who want the same opportunities to learn and express themselves through music. Go to Western Kansas Orchestra Festival, which is a blast, and be able to audition for honors orchestra and do contest in the spring and have the chance to tour and show up and coming students, hey, this is how much fun it can be to learn something new and to apply yourself to get better and be better students all the way around, because I've heard it helps with math skills too. And it's just heartbreaking knowing that kids are missing out on a vital part of their school day. And they could have that half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of a music class to lighten their day and make their day a lot better. I hope you guys can come to a conclusion and get it back and get these classes back in these schools. I don't think it's right singling out certain schools for certain classes. I hope you guys can come to a conclusion and get us our kids' music back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for speaking, and if you have any other questions or concerns, reach out to your superintendent or your building administrators, and I'll look forward to the follow-up emails too that you mentioned. So thank you. We will move on to, did we have any correspondence? Okay, the consent agenda.
Madam President, I move we approve the consent agenda as.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have. Getting down to where I need to be. Okay, the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science. There you are.
Hi, my name is Neil Lundgren. I am the lead elementary science teacher in the district. I teach at Victor Annalis. I have second, third, and fourth grade students in my class. The Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science is one of the highest awards teachers can receive in our country. I applied for it last year and found out in April that I was named the state finalist for Kansas, and the board at Topeka wanted me to come and present to you guys so that just to raise awareness about the award. The application process involved recording myself teaching my class and writing about a 10-page paper reflecting on it through about 5 different dimensions of teaching, including teaching practices, science content, leadership, diversity and equity. So it was a pretty big undertaking. I had a lot of help. I had some good letters of recommendation from several people throughout the district who helped with that. And I was surprised to be named finalist. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is to encourage you to nominate other teachers for this award. The website is paemst, PAEMST.org. It's open to math and science teachers, and it goes on a 2-year cycle. Last year was kindergarten through 6th grade. So this year, if you know any excellent 7th through 12th grade teachers, I would encourage you to nominate. Even if they don't decide to go through and apply, being nominated is a great honor and really great way to recognize teachers who have gone above and beyond and deserve that recognition. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Moving on to,
Can
go
I
ahead.
ask a
Yeah.
quick question? Finalist, but when are those announced?
I believe in February, but there's not been a date announced that they've consistently done it on. It's usually around February that they announce the national finalists.
The awareness is super. Thank you so much for doing that. You commented that there was an interest in additional nominations. Is that for this round or for the next round?
The nominations open every fall, and so this year the nominations are still open. They stay open until February when the applications are due, but I encourage you to nominate early in case these people want the time to work on it. I know of a few people in the district who've already been nominated, so if you hear of them, offer them support and encouragement, offer them to write a letter of recommendation. That's part of the application. But yes, right now applications are open for 7th through 12th grade teachers.
Yeah, this sounds a little awkward, but are they in competition with you as a finalist?
No, the finalists for last year have been decided, so this next round will be in competition with each other.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Good question.
And then the other question I guess I'd have is how do I find out who they are? I mean, do I go knock on doors or
Who's
is?
been nominated?
Yeah, already.
I don't think they announced who's been nominated. The people who've been nominated should know by now that they've been nominated.
So I should already know them and therefore know enough to
Yes,
submit that letter of recommendation as opposed to go find them.
yeah, I believe you can check if somebody's been nominated when you nominate somebody. If they've already been nominated, it will let you know. That's the only way I know to check.
Thank you.
Yep.
Move on to unfinished business, discussion of the Board of Education vacancy. I did not get mine open. We've done this recently, so I guess everyone kind of knows what our options are. I was gonna read them, but I did not get my email. Discussion. See which direction we'd like to go. We can leave the seat open. We can.
Well,
Go
I'll
ahead.
say a few things.
Yeah.
Well, it just seems to me the simplest thing for the community and for us is to take the nominations, or let's take the letters of interest that we had and consider those. And I don't believe we had any other solicitations of interest. So it seems like we're sort of ready to make a nomination out of that list.
It was my understanding that we only put out the notice that the thing was vacant. Did we put out a notice again asking for people if they're interested to send in, or are you talking about just using the previous people of interest?
It was just a blink of an eye ago when we did that. But it seems like the latter, that I don't know why we would make another solicitation when we just did it to the community and the community responded. I mean, there's potentially someone that moved in or had a second thought after that, maybe even the list that we have, maybe there's a second thought. I guess we'll find that out if we end up basically nominating somebody that for some reason or other might decline. But I would suggest, it's just my thought, that we
My recommendation would be to resolicit, and I base that on the fact of, I've had people approach me about the process the last time, so now that they've kind of witnessed how that process occurred, I think there's some additional interest from people that maybe didn't put in the first time, and also I based on the fact of, are those people still interested that put in the last time? Are we gonna solicit that interest and see if they're still interested, or just we have them resolicit? That's where I would recommend. But
I'm eager to get the process through if we can. Has anyone been in contact with any of these that they're interested in, or that you want to discuss today? Is everyone more on the page of?
I'm on the same page as Randy. I think we should resolicit just because I know it takes more time to do it that way, but I feel like it kind of set a precedence. And the same thing, I think sometimes people are uneasy about the process and what that looks like. This is, kind of a big deal in some ways. And so I would definitely like to open it up to people who might not have understood the initial process, or maybe since then have seen some things that they like or don't like, and that they want an opportunity to try and be on the board.
I would have to say I'm okay with that too. I just kind of a getter to.
Yeah.
right.
I know.
And I understand, and
Yeah.
I said I make the point solely on the fact that I've had people reach out to me and ask questions about the process and that, so I feel like maybe they're a little more educated now, and maybe that will solicit some more interest from people.
Once we get those letters in, it went pretty fast. I mean, we did it in that we were able to read them ahead of time and kind of make nomination. I think even we now know too, a little bit more about how that works. So maybe it would also be quickly, be quick.
Kind of in line with you, we had I think 6 or 7 people last time that showed interest. I would like to just fill it and move forward with those folks if possible. I'm with Mark, either way.
Go ahead.
I'm fine with either way. I think we do need to decide quickly.
And when we did this previously, we had 2 that were nominated and seconded that we voted on. Remind me the name of the second one.
But you just say remind me of the one that-
No. Randy, yes,
Cedro Moreno and Nathan Hasek.
thank you.
Nathan Heck.
Heck,
We had 3 nominations. We had 2 that acquired a second. So we could, you could either consider both of those or go with the one that required the second. Nathan, yes, thank you. Or we can, if there's not a motion passed for one of those tonight, then we could just seek to
Well, our next board meeting is in 10
ask
days
for applications.
on Thursday. It's a short meeting. It's that 5 o'clock short meeting. And so if we just gave people that 10 days to try and put them in, then we could, and if it's just these guys, then we can move forward with these. And if it's not anybody new, we could, if we have some new ones.
So your thought is at least we got it announced and
Give some,
gave some opportunity for response.
I'm just saying 10 days is not a lot. The next board
Right.
meeting is a short one, so it's not typically a lot of discussion to where we have to make some, those like maybe where we could have some tie or something like that. It's usually just very basic 5-minute meeting. So that's why I'm saying it's good because no big decisions are typically made at that next meeting. And it would give people 10 days.
And
we
if
put it out.
those people are still interested, well, the work's done for them.
right,
You know,
so
it's
you,
not
we
gonna
wouldn't be
change a
asking
lot.
them to resubmit, maybe just reaching
No,
out to
I-
them to see if they're still interested.
Maybe confirm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's,
Is that
You guys be okay with
something
that?
you're comfortable?
I'm okay either way.
Okay.
Yep, Madam President, you just tell us which way you want.
I'm only one of 6 right now. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with that. That gives us the opportunity.
And it's not. I think we all want.
Right.
We need
Yeah, we do. Yes, unless Glenda would like the meeting longer, we can.
I did my part.
Just kidding. Move on to new business.
So I think you've got another policy in front of you tonight. On your packet, it's the last 3 pages, so it's a pretty long packet again this month. But it's just changing some language in IIA about performance-based credits. So Governor Kelly commissioned a task force, a graduation task force, to look at some changes to credit requirements in the state of Kansas. So no longer do we have seat time as the automatic must-have for a credit. And this is really, we're just talking middle school, high school, so 6th grade through 12th grade in doing that. So as that was changed, KSDE approached a change to not requiring seat time to get the Carnegie unit of a class credit, and gave opportunities for school districts to design different ways to develop credits and issuing credits for students in high school. What you're looking at tonight is not a change, it's an additional wording in your policy. So you're not changing or adding a new policy. It's adding language into your current policy that would allow us the opportunity, if a school presented it, again, through curriculum council and then still again through approval by the board, to give credit to classes that may be non-traditional. So it could be different types of internships. It could be an integrated coursework. There are some places that are having a construction and design class that they're also getting a geometry credit for it at the same time. That's what that integrated coursework would look like. So I'm taking one class, but I'm going to get a geometry credit and a construction science credit if we had that pathway. The other part of it is the working with outside entities. So it'd be partnering with local businesses and communities to provide opportunities for students to get performance-based credits. Now, we already have work-based learning as a class that we have within the school, but we have the certain amount of requirements that students have to go through, plus we house the teacher. This is going to be a little bit more aligned to working directly with that business entity to see what they would be having the students doing, and then aligning those back to our curriculum, going through curriculum council and awarding it. You could substantially be giving students credit for work that they did in the summer or a job they had in the summer. That is how far this policy could allow it. Again, it'd still go through curriculum council, still go through Board of Education approval, and we're not doing any of that tonight. All you're looking at is language within a policy that would give the flexibility to start that process of approving those credits.
this is first read.
Yep. So everything, all the changes are in red. So those, and it's all just additional language. There's very little strikeout of any
So there
language.
is some strikeout.
Right, but very little. It's just about the timeline of the administration of the instrument. And so it's how you would evaluate that performance based, because I think that language is back in a little bit later in page 2 or page 3, when I think it actually changes to where the superintendent would have to review the curriculum and the timeline of those pieces. So it would come back to a district-based decision versus a building-based decision. Again, only for 6th grade on up.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yes, so this seems pretty wide open.
Yes.
So if a student wanted to pursue on their own something related to the Rose Standards and performing arts or violin or whatever, they could do that and pursue through this policy credit for that.
In theory, yes. We would still go through our traditional channels of adding a new course through Curriculum Council, through the board, then we'd put it into Skyward, we'd submit it for a Kansas course code, map all of that out so that they would be a valid course. What the state of Kansas has done is allowed us to do that. There would be some general classes that, like, it would not count as I guess it would count as a fine arts credit in that situation, but it wouldn't count as a math credit or a social studies credit. We still have to map all of those pieces. But yes, in theory, someone could go to a 2-week, say, institute at Juilliard or something like that, attend, they would have so many credits, they would show that they performed at a certain level, maybe have a performance at the end. If we so chose as a board and as a district, we could put together a credit for that student to receive for that.
I think it's fascinating, and I just use that as sort of bracketing the universe here of possibilities. And then, of course, another one is some of the up and coming industries that we have here in Garden City. Certainly there's real opportunity there as
Yes.
well.
So I believe from the Governor Kelly's graduation task force, this is really developed out of workforce management. And part of her numbers show that only 30% of students really need a bachelor's degree in the fields that are available in the state of Kansas. And then we have about 67% of our students need some sort of technical certificate or post-secondary training in doing that. So this allows us to kind of align and personalize students' post-secondary needs as they get more. I would assume, I don't want to do that because this is a policy language, not a broader discussion, but that scenario that you brought up may be more of a junior or senior type coursework. We may not be looking at this as, a freshman or an 8th grader because there's still some general studies that may need to be done. But as a district, we could foresee using something like this to help personalize kids towards their individual plan of study, which again aligns to a state board outcome. It aligns to some of our KISA stuff that we've been doing in the past cycle. So this language just opens up the doors. It does not create something, and it does not mandate that we do something. It just gives us the opportunity to approach that as we move forward.
With a framework of policy,
Correct.
et cetera.
And you said it clear down to 6th grade?
Yes, that's where the policy states. Does not mean that we have to do that. It just gives you the flexibility as a district. I think the reason the recommendation from KASB comes from 6th grade is because most traditional middle schools are 6-8 buildings. And so it just is language that fits that piece. We could, scratch it and go a 7-12 to fit our district needs. Again, if there ever is reconfigured, then you just have to revisit the policy language.
Any other questions?
Just another
Go
thing
ahead.
that I appreciate, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I like your
Another
question.
thing I appreciate is the focus on the welfare of the student.
Uh-huh.
And so, just like we do with our staff, there's certainly safety considerations
Yes.
within this policy for remote, if that's the right term, learning.
Yeah, and the good thing is, I believe in my understanding of the policy, and we really want to dive in with legal to be a little bit more careful, is if we do a one-off, then you guys are kind of approving individual students for this credit. Now, if we do a class that 6 or 7 kids can be in, then we may look, a larger piece, but say that violin example, that may be just one student. So we would want to look individually at how it fits that student. I think if you remember, Ulysses Public Schools a couple of years ago had Braxton Morale that graduated from Harvard University at the same time he graduated from Ulysses High School. A lot of that stemmed from this, or a lot of this policy language stemmed from that opportunity where they had a little bit more flexibility in terms of what requirements were to allow them that opportunities. And so that, along with, I think, the Andover Caps Academy, which is their public or their trade school, and Olathe has a Caps Academy too that has a little bit more of these internships built in. So it's just an opportunity for flexibility. And I think it's great policy language that may not impact us today, but it may be 6 months down the road, 12 months down the road, 18 months down the road, gives us that opportunity, especially with incoming businesses and what their needs may be for our pathways, that we're not stuck based on we don't have the staffing. This gives us the opportunity to partner with local businesses that may be able to provide the expert service that we could then provide some credit to.
That's exactly what I was thinking too, for those CAPS programs, and maybe this allows districts that don't have the funding or the, to have an actual building like some of those schools do. I know if you've ever gone on a KASB conference or workshop or something, they sometimes tour those and they're fascinating. I mean, they're amazing, but it's a whole building. So this would kind of maybe help too with smaller districts or rural schools where we don't have the necessarily funding or capacity to do that. Like, we'd still be able to offer kids those opportunities.
Yeah, I would think like Mr. Ralston, like the Explorer program, that is something that we could write into as a credit-based program. That would be something that is already existing in the community. If we have some students wanting to be in criminal justice, why are we not giving them an opportunity? Maybe not. Why shouldn't we be able to give them the opportunity to have opportunities to get some high school credit? It's elective credit. It's not necessarily still working towards graduation. So we're not wiping away a graduation requirement. It just helps fulfill some of their elective credits that way. So those are already partnerships we may have in place that we could explore.
Another quick question. This is pretty long. And it seems like it, no, John, I'm not going to turn it over to you here. It seems like some of this is almost meat potato process as opposed to policy. And so I'm wondering, this was but from KASB though, right?
Correct, recommended.
Okay. Well, I'm good with it. It seems like there's a lot of detail in there.
And our legal counsel's looked over it. To give her thumbs up. I think probably if I'm interpreting that there is more process in this policy language is because there is a release from having on-site in building and 64 hours of seat time as receiving the credit as it had been in the past from KSDE. So I think when they are relinquishing this amount of, I don't want to say, I mean, they're letting, I think they're putting a little bit more process in to ensure that we're not just giving credit for kids for sitting on the couch and watching TV for 2 weeks and calling it a TV appreciation class or something.
I mean, that's good. I'm good with it. It's observable here that there's process involved here. But if they're good with it and it's a great start.
And I don't know for sure that they put the process in there for that reason. That would be an assumption based on previous history with KSDE and how they like to have a little bit more oversight on that.
There's a lot of positives to this. Mark's asked some great questions. In your opinion, is there any negatives to the direction?
The potential negatives, I mean, there always are for every choice that you make with consequence. Potential pitfall, I think would be a way that I'd want to look at it is then having to decipher if we say yes to one situation and no to another. And so I think probably what we would need to do within the Office of Instruction and in the Curriculum Council is put together some base parameters of what we would want to see. Initially, my reading of this is it would need to be a part of their individual plan of study. If it's not a part of their individual plan of study, then it may not be something that we would feel comfortable in processing, because it's back to that. I want credit for sitting on my, backside watching TV for 2 weeks in the summer and get a course in that versus, a kid who was working at Palace Computers learning, networking skills. I think there's a difference between that, and I don't think we can pick and choose which class is better, but I think if we would lay some framework to say it's aligned to their IPS, that would give us a little bit more credence to making sure we're getting quality coursework.
You hit my concern on
Okay. When you don't have any hair, you're pretty good at it.
Well said.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So we'll have this on the consent agenda.
For the second September one? Okay.
No, it's not as, well, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's consent only, right?
So as you read through it again, if you have any other questions or concerns, you can email.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Well, board open discussion. 7 o'clock. Volunteers. Mark, you want to go first?
Sure. I don't have a whole lot, although I always appreciate people coming to the board and expressing their thoughts and concerns. It's just so helpful. And then it's helpful to the collaboration we have with the leadership to hear how, the context of what we've got going to address those issues. The one thing about KH, I just want to, not to dwell on that, but it's just a challenge that we've had ever since we did the big bond initiative. I think we still have $80 million or so. Maybe I'm way off on that, on debt. I just glanced that portion of your package, but so I mean, we're still as a community heavily committed to what we have committed to, and but at the same time, the long-term facilities discussion and site council and the recognition that are there other ways to be more efficient with our facilities and with our goals with our children and our staff, that realignment and maybe even building on to some of our facilities is in the discussion. It's just a tough one to think about. I realized, we started right off from the get-go with KH, doing what you would expect the enthusiasm and the team spirit of the school to do. And that is to take our Memorial Stadium and decorate it according to that school at that location. But then we had to sort of time out, that's a shared facility between the two middle schools. And whatever we're classifying as. But anyway, it was meant to be a shared Memorial Stadium and not just a stadium for one of the two middle schools. So I think it's still that way officially, which is a way of addressing KH's and some of the concerns we've heard. Of course, proximity wise, it doesn't always work well. Certainly get that, but it's a tough one. Sort of the things that relate to that. Back to the other comments, though, on the school bus and things like that, we just have to keep working on that. And I know transportation's got to be all over that. That's not what we do, and we certainly want to remain safe. I just know we've got to keep working with the big pictures as well as some of these other exciting things, new policies and new opportunities. We'll just keep working on it, and I think we've got the board and the staff to do it. So.
Thank you. Becky?
I don't have a whole lot. I did receive several calls about the football field at Cage, and I have looked at it. And even for a practice field, I wouldn't do it. So just.
John?
Yeah, I would comment on the KH situation a little bit. I've talked with Mr. Stoppel and I've talked to the athletic director, Brad Hill, and I think they got a plan in place. My understanding was that there was, they had to bring in a different water source that maybe didn't have the exact same pressure as the previous one, so the sprinklers weren't spraying as far as they were before, which has caused some of the issues. But I have had 3 kids go through KH, and at times you as a parent, you do feel like maybe KH doesn't offer, some of the same things that sports could, but then as a parent, you sit back and you go through KH, and KH has a uniqueness about it. And we've had a great experience at KH. They've had good administration there. They've had great teachers there. Our 3 students have had a wonderful experience at KH. So I know at times people think KH lacks a little bit, and there are some things like the football field and some things that we do need to address. But KH offers a tremendous amount of support for the students that are there as well. So I'm with Mark on the buses. I mean, I understand we have had some bus issues from time to time, and I think there's some quotes that are going to come before the board so that we can address some of those issues. But it's not an isolated event to KH either. It's happened. The cheerleaders go to Wichita and back on Friday on a bus where their conditioner was marginal or wasn't working. So it ain't like we're picking on KH there. But transportation will get on it, get all over it. We'll get those in front of us and we'll get moving forward. So.
I agree with what everybody says. I think the issues, I appreciate them being brought forward, obviously, that's important. That's where we start. And then once we got that, and I'm confident in the process that it'll take care of itself and we'll work it out. Congratulations to Neil. I think that's awesome. We need to keep recognizing people for that kind of stuff and I see a lot of positive things coming. So keep it up.
Yeah, I'd jump on that as well. I don't know if I'm just happen to see more or more content is being put out there, but I'm definitely seeing, and I'm not on every school's Facebook page and I need to do that. I tell myself I'm gonna do that, but
Takes time.
I know. But the ones that I do happen to be on, I see more content and I like to see that. They're showing us what they're doing, what their students are doing, their staff. And so I appreciate that. I know it's not an easy thing to keep on top of. So that's fun, I think, for me, and I'm sure for the community too. I always like to promote the counselors at the high school because I just think that they've been working really hard to up their game in so many areas. And this week they are doing the senior success night. That's tomorrow night. So if you know any seniors, encourage them or their families to go to the senior success night. Sadly, I have the senior. So anyway, and then shoot, there was one other thing. I knew I should write it down because I would forget.
That could be a blessing too.
It was not important. If you can't remember, it's not important. Maybe I'll think about it. If it comes to me, yeah, it's all good. All good.
Yeah, just ditto to what everybody said about KH. It is a great school. I agree. And I hope we'll always work hard to keep our buildings and our facilities nice. I think that's important because that's something to be proud of too. So yeah, ditto to what you said on that. Teddy and I got to go to TEP today for the first time this year. He's Mr. Popular. I'm just there to hand out the treats, but it's nice to get in the schools and interact with the kids from that side of it. So give you the opportunity, take time to go visit. They'll let you in without the dog, not me, but they will you. But it just seems like the school's starting off great in that building. Mr. Sullivan was there to greet us at the door and I saw him in the hallways for the 2 hours we were there visiting classrooms, and there's lots of new faces in the classrooms that I visited, and it seems like they're settling in well and the staff's welcoming them, and they're getting into a routine. So that, I don't know if it made their day, but it made my day to get out and be able to do that. So I'm thankful for that opportunity. Dr. Dominguez?
I remember real quick.
Okay, sorry.
I remember real quick.
Go.
Sorry, I just, it's always a good thing when we are working with the community. And I know Dr. Dominguez is doing a great job of getting around and meeting people and establishing relationships. But the community college did use our football field. I know where they were grateful for that. So it's always a good collaboration. And then the other thing is, there were two things. The other thing is I just want to encourage people to run for the board. You have an opportunity to put your name out there. It's an easier process than having to do the whole panel and all of those things. So if you have a little bit of anxiety with that, now is your time. Now is your chance to get a taste of what the board, of being a part of the board. So I feel like there are so many people, if you're discontent, if you're not hearing your voice on the board, like put your application in there, be a voice that you're not hearing on the board. So I just really want to encourage the community, all those people who I'm sure are watching it right now on their Monday night, if you know people, encourage them to join the board. So, sorry, Dr. You guys.
No, you're doing good. Thank you. So I want to thank the leadership team, just the entire USD-457 community and family of being a component of, the great experience that we've had. The start of the year really was a lot of work put into starting the year well, and we've done well, but this performance-based credit, that's an example. It's called P-TECH in other places, P-TECH model of how are we going to grow our students to be the future. Once again, we work with 25% of the community, but 100% of the future. So we affect everything. So that's big. If only 30% need a college degree, we don't necessarily want all our best students and staff to be leaving Garden City. We want them to stick around and get that degree here and stay here. But definitely on the facilities, we've done a bond. We've that's a 10-year deal in the making. Is it time to look to reconfigure? All those things are about a 3 to 5 to 10-year plan of moving forward. What does it really look like? So I'm excited where we're at. TNTP worked with our leadership, not just our instructional coaches, but our administrators, which they're taking them back to their campuses. Just really been out there. We all went to campuses to start it off. Just great things going on on our campuses. Our shareholders are excited, teachers excited. So we just need to be excited and keep moving forward. And that's the truth. That's where we're at. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Okay, the next Board of Education meeting will take place on Thursday, September 22nd at 5 p.m. in the board meeting room. And we will move into executive session.
Madam President, I move we go into executive session for meeting 15. For 15 minutes to discuss an individual employee's performance pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under KOMA, beginning at, want to go right away or do you want a few minutes? Okay, so 6:55 until 7:10. Yep. And the open meeting will resume in the board meeting room at 7:10. I would like to invite Dr. Dominguez to join us in executive session.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.